We gave up delta to gain freedom. We lost it. Or did we let go of it? The powers behind the scenes seemingly orchestrated everything for humanity, as well for you and me, on a very personal level. Even over an enormous time span from the time of Eden, whenever that was, how is it possible to gain such control and keep a dominating influence through aeons? There is a golden rule in cosmos. Nothing happens without consent. Consent is given in accordance with benefit. Applying this rule on the phenomenon of beta, how could this possibly make sense? The key to understanding this fuss about consent is actually the apple. The fruit of the tree of knowledge. There was no way the snake could possibly force the apple down Eve's throat. She had to eat it. She had to deliberately take it, bring it to the mouth, open, bite, swallow. All the snake could do was to connect the dots in advance, then to pick the apple, bring it to Eve, and tempt her. Temptation differs from rape in that it brings a benefit. The tempted is tempted because of the presented goodies. The tempted may actually decline. As earlier mentioned, a consent on the level of the expulsion of paradise is a highly sophisticated and delicate thing. Eve had no idea as to what suffering her tiny bite would bring upon not only herself, but upon the entire humanity to be. And yet, this expulsion may turn out to bring some interesting benefits in the long run. With this unique bite in the apple, humans distanced themselves from animals. Through all these times, up until now, we have manifested this bite. With beta, we have closed the doors to the animal way of feeling one with the entire creation. We have shut down the ability to perceive the immense noise of all the broadcasting signals out there to the extent that we now feel totally separate from each other. Although it came at a high price, one huge benefit is freedom. The expulsion brought us freedom. We do not hear and perceive the telepathic messages from infinite number of creatures. How would we be able to live in a metropolis and pick up all the joy and suffering from millions of co-inhabitants 24/7? We would become insane from less. However, this deafening silence is not only there to make the living in cities possible. Out of the silence, we can now decide to pay attention. Instead of falling prey to all the noise involuntarily, we now have the freedom to choose to pay attention to whatever we see the need of. This is not to say that the snake did well by tempting Eve. This is not to say that the witches were burned righteously. This knowledge does not vindicate the ignorance of modern science or the suffering brought through the prescription of poisonous compounds called medicine. Well, human life, the evolution of humanity, has its bumps on the ride without which we would not be who and what we are. Yes, we lost it. But let us look forward at what we can get instead. Most advice in this book direct you towards an active use of your senses, not a passive one. It is like the difference between viewing and listening. Viewing follows the direction of your head and your eyes, whereas listening is less influenced by your voluntary movements. Viewing implies more freedom than do listening. In a way, the old use of these senses, the way the animals used it, was similar to listening. There was no way to escape the sensations. This atavistic sensing has been turned off or is reduced into insignificance, giving us a much-needed silence. Oh yes, The beta addiction fills this void with rubbish, indeed with meaningless noise, just to prevent us from getting insane in the emptiness and absence of content. Out of this vacuum, we can develop our senses consciously. Instead of the praise, wide-angle view, we now have the possibility to develop a laser-sharp vision that can penetrate time and space. When an animal mother, like the German Shepherd in the case, a dog with a long ego, remember? Instinctively finds the stress too high, she simply turns away from her offspring, leaving them in no chance of survival. Her unconscious perception of the stress may not be able to pinpoint the problem and less so find a solution. The innate master, however, is able to penetrate the problem and more so, fix it. If the etheric body has not been properly developed, a human consciousness can focus on the problem, understand it, know what to do, and actually do that which no other natural being is capable of. Accepting the void and leaving the chatter behind will not bring us back into an unconscious delta. By deliberately focusing our razor-sharp attention on objects, we use the benefit of delta, maintaining contact with everybody, regardless of time and space, and lift these delta abilities to new heights at a gamma level through the voluntary and conscious appliance. Albeit forget about the hallelujahs, whereas the activistic viewer simply saw without knowing, the modern scientist will see nothing. The old viewer could not escape the view. The modern human being has to penetrate matter with his consciousness and with knowledge. Therefore, the sense in question here is like an extension of the scientist's toolbox, not an alternative. It is hard work to grasp and understand life, but it is the more rewardable as it gives us the ability to enter the cockpit and take control over handles and levers.